Now, you've got two examples today for our viewers, haven't you? The first one, Home Office, what I'm calling Home Office bundles.
Yeah.
What is that? Tell us more.
So, in the annual report of the Home Office, they have a section for losses and special payments, and losses have gone up by about £30-odd million in the course of a year. And these are various different items, like the famous blue passports that we're all going to be having after Brexit. The old stocks of the purple passports had to be junked.
Yeah.
Some EU-branded biometric cards, we lost money on that as well. And cancelled flights also feature quite highly on that list for failed asylum seekers as well.
Yeah, see, I find that quite interesting because, these things really do add up and they don't really get that much scrutiny, do they? I mean, so the passport one, 8.6 million was wasted, basically £8.6 million worth of passports basically couldn't be used going forward. And then you're mentioning there another over £1 million for the biometric cards, 800,000 was the result of cancelled flights. This adds up and adds up and adds up. And what you're saying here, it went from 2019 to 2020, that was 3 and a bit million.
Yep.
And then in 2021, to 21, it's 41 million. That is such a huge increase.
Yeah, absolutely.
Huge.
There's a big bill in there that for changes for a tax bill, basically. There were changes to IR35 rules, which meant that the Home Office had to stump up some money. But overall, more money down the drain. It's lost an incredible rate, and the average household probably over the course of a lifetime won't pay, much more than about 700,000 in taxes in their entire lifetime. So when we talk about £1 million here, £1 million there, it doesn't seem like a lot of money in terms of how much the public sector spends overall, but it's £1 million. Every single penny should be carefully looked after.
One of the things that I want to talk about, I know you don't watch it anymore, I know you mostly watch GB News, all of you, but, I want to talk about it nonetheless, is about BBC salaries that we're all paying and the absolute extraordinary costs into like the tens and tens of millions. You've got some stats on that, tell me.
Yeah, well, this is a slightly good news story in a sense that
good news,
the bill for the salary senior staff has gone down actually over the last year. Still some eye-watering numbers, and then of course,
unbelievable.
When you look through some of the expenses claims as well, there's still 4- and 5-star hotels and all of these kind of things. So. Yeah, certainly. When you're getting those letters from chasing you down for your licence fee, they certainly want you to stump up to pay for these bills.
Well, yeah, because I'm looking at it here. The top 20 backroom BBC bosses enjoyed over £5.4 million worth of pay and perks, over 270,000 on each, including, for example, former chairman's car and driver. He spent 16,000 on that, alongside his 100 grand fee that year. And I just think this is really kind of, part of me is quite envious, quite frankly. Maybe I need to go get a job on the BBC and start earning an absolute fortune. But, when I see the flip side of this, which is when there's talk about basically pursuing convictions against pensioners if they're not paying their fees, etc., then this does smack a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, and, pretty aggressive letters that you get sent from licence fee collections. Yeah, it's over 150 quid a year. It's a lot of money for a lot of families, and it's really, really important that the BBC works a lot harder to make that money go further, and not least because the BBC has a bit of a relatability issue with the country at large at the issue, and it really needs to work on being able to speak for different parts of the country rather than just sort of a well-heeled London set.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I think that there is a lot of people that feel quite strongly, actually, at being forced to have to pay this licence fee, seeing it akin to a form of tax in some ways. And it is, I think, some of the salaries that they're paying, and I'm not particularly like a football person, for example, but when I see how much money people like Gary Lineker get paid and radio presenters, I'm not singling anyone out, there's quite a few different examples, but I sit there and I just think, how can you kind of justify that spending from public money?
Well, this is it. I think you mentioned it when you open the segment. This is public money, and it should be treated with even more care, if anything, than private sector money, because it's handed over under the threat of prison. So that's a big deal, and it's really important that the BBC and other organisations in the public sector are proper stewards of public money.
Yeah, and it's bonkers. When you say it like that, when you actually say this is money handed over with a kind of shadow of, if you don't hand this over, you're literally going to go to prison. It is kind of, it's not great, is it? But you've just said, to give them credit, that they are kind of slashing their costs and making indents as we speak.
It seems to be that way. We'll see what the next year's report holds, but they're certainly moving in the right direction. Baby steps, I'd call it. Yeah,
indeed. And I tell you, one of the things that really wanted me to do this War on Waste thing is the whole TV studio. This is the thing that kind of rang the alarm bell with me. Do you remember that they do these briefings? They used to have these televised COVID briefings, and they built that studio. It's a singular studio, and it costs the taxpayer millions and millions of pounds. And then what it feels like to me is that then, for some reason, these things then don't progress. So we just spoke about, for example, the passports, TV studios, and then they're just kind of quietly forgotten about. But then, what then happens is that then you stand in Parliament and you hear people talking about, we're going to take this £20 universal credit. I'm going off on a rant now, but, you know, they're throwing away all these millions of pounds while simultaneously saying things like, oh, yeah, the £20 uplift on universal credit, we're definitely going to take that back again. And it irritates me, because I just think, on the one hand, you're taking money from people. That it's a lot of £20 as an uplift on universal credit is a lot of money to people, to families who need that. So then on the one hand, you're kind of taking that back because apparently, you know, we can't really afford it. Well, then on the other hand, you're simultaneously doing stuff like getting rid of nearly £9 million worth of passports over there and kind of hoping that no one notices, and simultaneously getting rid of millions of pounds worth of TV studios over there, and again hoping no one realises it. And they all do it. It's not just this current government.
It's good that it annoys you. It should annoy more people.
It does annoy me.
It should annoy more people when millions of pounds are wasted like that. And listen, this is going to be a big spending government, regardless of COVID. They were going to always spend more money than the previous administration. So it's really, really important that they get their priorities right and root out the waste.